Hello everybody, I'm Gwen Campbell-Mindes. Welcome to Gwen's Bookish Ramblings. So here we are at the Prioress Tale, and this is the book about how Alys is the worst. Now, I will be the first to admit that by the end of the book, we are sort of being press-ganged into feeling sorry for her. But this is one of those... Alys is one of those characters who... You might be trying to press gang me into feeling sorry for her. That, you know, there's a scene in this book where Frevisse's fellow nun tries to convince her that, you know, what you have to remember looking at Alys is she cares about St. Frideswide. She cares about our nunnery. She wants to make it better. She may be going about it in a completely wrong-headed way and so on and so forth, but she is a person who at the core wants to do the right thing and wants to make everything better. The problem is that we spend too much time in Alys's head in this book for, you know, that to hold much water with me, because this is one of those things where you say, yeah, she's going at it wrong-headedly, but she's not merely going at it wrong-headedly. We're in her head, and she's sitting there thinking, and then we'll have wine every day, and we'll be able to afford to pay for this nice thing and that nice thing, and this is a woman who thinks she wants the best. But if she took even a moment for self-introspection, she would realize that what she actually wants is to be more comfortable and to be richer. And it's really... It's just... You know, you have Alys sitting there going on and on about how other people get all muzzy-headed and she never gets muzzy-headed. And the answer to that is she never gets muzzy-headed because she never forces herself to think all the way through to the end of the full moral, ethical, and general real-world implications of anything that she does. She's so busy bullying forward towards this end goal that she has that she doesn't think bigger. And at the end of this book, all of this has come crashing down on her head. She wasn't able to see past what her cousin Reynold was doing to understand exactly how bad he was being about it. She wasn't able to see through what her aunt had been doing, because her aunt... It was a thing that wealthy women sometimes did as they got older in the Middle Ages, is they would say, I'm going to retire to a nunnery, and, you know, I'm not going to deal with large numbers of properties. I'm going to get a whole bunch of my nice, comfortable stuff and live in an all-women's enclave where I don't have to deal with men smirking around, lording themselves over me, and just retire from the world and live a quiet life and not have to deal with all of these other obligations. You know, the reins have been given over to my eldest son anyways. It's not like I have any real power or anything. The point is that Lady Eleanor has retired supposedly to lead a quiet life, and at the start of this book, Frevisse likes her because she seems like a smart, self-possessed, calm woman who, you know, is a good conversationalist, and Frevisse likes that, and by the end of the book she finds out that this is a woman who has decided to use St. Frideswide's to continue the blood feud between her family, the Godfreys, and the Fenner family, because they have been feuding since God only knows when, and neither side can actually let it go and walk away from it. Rather than saying, okay, we lost this in court, we have lost these properties, let's just walk away. They can't do it, and so it's been a good couple years now, and they're just going to raid the Fenners again. And everything about this is trouble, is a problem, is all sorts of things. And Alys... One suspects, reading this, that Alys has, among other things, willfully ignored it because she doesn't want to spend a minute on introspection. I also want to state for the record that I genuinely do not understand what's with this particular cover. because the cover for this particular ebook version of two people kissing doesn't make any sense, because there is a guy who wants to marry a girl in this book, but he doesn't kiss her, and she doesn't want to be anywhere near him, and when they first show up in the book, he has claw marks on his face from where she has scratched him trying to get away. So, I don't even know what's with this cover. This is a bad cover. This is a bad cover because I have no idea what this picture has to do with anything. Anyways, so we have all the way through this book, Alys is awful. She is determined to see. The thing is, Frevisse does want to undercut her, but Frevisse's desire to undercut her has to do with the desire for her to, actually suck it up and do the job of Prioress properly, to, stop wasting money on a tower that they don't need, to do all kinds of things, and Frevisse is a little uncharitable towards Alys, but basically Alys drives her to it because Alys also turns into one of those despots who sees everybody's resistance towards them as everybody's out to get me, rather than this person has a legitimate complaint about what I'm doing. And so Alys is just, she's the worst, and she takes it so far because this is the book where she decides she's going to whip Dame Frevisse. She's like, that she gave orders that Frevisse was not to speak to this person, that they were not to speak to this person, they were supposed to ignore this young man coming and going through the convent. I'm sorry, you're allowing a man to come and go through the convent? And just ignore them and don't talk to them, and Frevisse ignores this because she is a person who feels it is her bounden duty to try to set things right, to try to understand what's going on, and it's not merely inquisitiveness. Frevisse is somebody who takes action and wants to make things right. It's actually one of the reasons why Domina Alys, before she died, had said to Frevisse, I think that you would have made a good prioress, because I can see Frevisse, who doesn't put up with things and doesn't have patience for things, but also is, one, deeply devoted to her life as a nun, to God, to all of those things, is supremely practical. She would make a very, very good prioress, but let's be honest, she has no patience for fools, and somebody who's in charge of a religious order, half of the people involved in it are people who don't want to be there, wish they weren't there, have effectively been forced into it by circumstance. You're going to need a lot more patience than Frevisse has for dealing with it. But Alys was voted in because everybody else decided that, oh, I'll give her one vote. Everybody else will be voting for somebody else. I'll give her one vote, and, then she'll feel better, and then in the next round I can vote for the person I actually want for, except everybody was going to give Alys one vote so that she could do it, and suddenly what was supposed to be one vote became nearly everybody's votes, and Alys won by a landslide majority. Anyways, Alys, the worst. I don't care about what she intended. About the only good thing that you can really see here is that she has infinite patience with Katrin, because Katrin is a woman who unfortunately is suffering from what we would call some kind of learning disability, a severe mental disability, handicap thing. Something has gone wrong with Katrin, and she just doesn't function very well mentally, and Katrin really needs her, needs things to remain organized. She needs to remain on a schedule. And she's been made into Alice's servant, and Alice has infinite patience with Katrin. This is the one good thing I will say, is that Alice looks at Katrin and she says, listen, if I give her a job, she will do that job as long as I don't make it too complicated. And she will get it done. And she, is as loyal as anything and, always does what she's supposed to. And sure, you can't give her things that are too complex. And sure, if something goes on, she may get upset. But if you treat her well, she is an excellent, excellent servant and handmaiden and whatever else. And so it's her patience with Katrin is the one thing that I can say about Alice in this book that is very praiseworthy, because while it may stem from a place of sheer pragmatism, it is a sheer pragmatism that says, this is a person who has value, and I will adapt and work within her limitations because she has value. And so it's the one good thing about Alice in this, but I stand by Alice being the worst. This book also sees the return of Joliffe, who is a recurring character. You remember him from The Servant's Tale as that handsome blonde actor man who, that Frevisse really, really liked him, and she liked the other players, and he comes back, and he is once again a clever man and a staunch ally. That's the thing about Joliffe, is he likes to put on a front of being untrustworthy and nothing more than wastrel, scoundrel, what have you. But at base, when you read these books, you see somebody who, at base, is a good person who wants to do good, who is going to do good, and who can be trusted that whatever he's doing, whatever he's getting up to, is almost invariably something that, he may be being paid to spy, to do all kinds of things, but the one thing at base is that if Frevisse asks him for help, he will help her. As he does in this book, and he's a wonderful, wonderful character in that way, and I keep on meaning to getting around to reading the sub-series that Frazer wrote starring him, the spin-off, rather. I keep meaning to get around to it, and I keep forgetting, and someday I'll read it. Possibly when I run out of these books and still have something else that I have to sort of wade through yet, and then I'll wind up reading those and pretend that I've actually gotten around to them in the intervening months. But anyways, so the thing about the Prioress's Tale is that basically Alice, upon being elected prioress, has wound up letting all of her family come through and stay and eat up all of their resources and so on, mostly because she's trying to make St. Frideswide into a bigger thing than it actually is, because when you're a big church, when you're a big monastery, nunnery, what have you, people pour lots of money into it, and then you have the money to do stuff, like have more comfortable things, to afford more new clothes, to afford nicer churches, to afford, filling in the cracks in the church so that it's not as cold. There are reasons to want that, but the problem with Alice remains that she's somebody who wants to do it for self-aggrandizement and is lying to herself about it. And that's, frankly, to me, that was the core of this book. I mean, also, there's, a murder and a whole bunch of other stuff, and I should probably have talked more about Dame Frevisse, but I've talked about her a lot, so I'm going to just, finish this video out with Alice. Alice, 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 and Alice is the worst. And that's everything, and I'll see you all next week.